Hello friend, welcome back to Acre Homestead. My name is Becky if you're new, and today we've got a lot of fun things we are going to tackle today. One of the main things we are going to tackle is seed saving. So I have already collected a few seeds. These are cosmos seeds that I had collected from a cosmos that we had started together back in March. It had flowered, it did its thing, a ton of them went to seed, so I harvested them. And now we are going to do what? We're going to remove a bunch of the petals from the seeds on these. We're going to go outside, and I've already harvested these, but we're going to go outside and harvest a bunch more seeds, and we are going to save them so hopefully we can plant them next year and we can start saving our own seeds. What inspired me, because I've been gardening, this was my 4th year gardening, and I have not been a huge seed saver. I've done a little bit here and there. I have saved black beans. I started these black bean seeds or black bean plants in 2020, and I've been able to grow them every year, and I've been saving seed and planting them out. So that's been a huge, huge win for me. But a thing that really lit a fire underneath me to really want to get more into it is these silly little cilantro seeds. I saved these last year. I didn't know if they were going to do anything. I planted them out and they're growing like crazy. I'll show you what they look like. They are thriving, they are green and lush, and I have a ton of seeds in here. I also this year have already saved some nasturtium seeds, and some of these have volunteered themselves and are already growing along with my cosmos, so that I know that I harvested these seeds at the right time. My cosmos, some of them are growing, my nasturtiums, some of them are growing, and my cilantro from the year before is growing. So that's super encouraging. So the first thing we're gonna do is try to remove these petals from the seeds. So the little bit of white, it's kind of gray because, you know, they've dried out, but they are the white petals. Well, I don't know if they're actually petals, but we need to remove them from the seed. So how I'm gonna do that, I think, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm blowing. That seems to be working pretty well. What's happening here is the seeds are heavier than the petals, and so the petals are blowing away in the wind and the seeds are falling into the container. This is working way better than I had expected, and so that's a huge win. Here are the nasturtiums. These were seeds that I planted in this green stalk from the seeds that we saved from the nasturtiums we grew earlier this year. Well, that was a lot easier than I was expecting. So what we're gonna do now, I have one of these little brown envelopes, and I am going to write the year and what this is because I wanna be really good at labeling. So when I go to plant next year, I know what I have. And I know that these seeds are viable because some of them have already started to sprout in my garden, or actually in my landscaping. And so I think this is gonna work really well for us. So I'm gonna write 2023 because that's the year that I harvested them, and they are white dwarf cosmos. You can see it's a whole lot more seeds in here than it was before. There's still a few things that aren't seeds in here, but that's okay because I'm just saving it for myself. So if some of that gets into the bag and then I end up planting that, it'll just compost. It'll be no problem. Let's get started. I'm going to lick this closed. I do feel like this has come full circle. We started these together. We bought the seeds together. We did a seed haul together. We planted them out, and now we have saved the seed for next year's garden. I'm going to need a bigger envelope for these nasturtiums. I know what these are, so I'm just going to set them back up here. Nasturtium seeds are pretty distinct, so I know exactly what those are. The next project we're going to tackle are these radish plants, and I just took the whole radish plant, stuck it in here, and let the whole thing dry. So each one of these pods has seeds. So there's 3 seeds right there. I'm going to write on this before I put any more in here so that I know what it is. I don't know the exact variety of radish. I know it's a red round radish. That's what I'm gonna call it, red round radish. I wonder if I could do the same thing with these seeds, because this would take a long time to pick through all of these. So I think I'm just gonna break a bunch of them into this container and try to release the seeds. And then we'll go outside and try that same method. Let's just do a few of them and see if that works before I do a whole bunch of them. Okay, we've got some here. Let's go outside and try it. So here we have our seeds and our, I think it's called chaff or something like that. I have a better idea. I just grabbed a colander. And I'm thinking that if I don't break the outer part so big, then I could just run. Oh my goodness, that works perfect. You'll be able to see it a little easier in here. Here you can see the little tan, that's the seeds. Here's what's left behind. So I think what I can do is I'm just gonna break these open into the colander. Because these holes in this colander are pretty wide, the seeds will be able to fall through, but I'm gonna try to keep the pod bigger so that that doesn't fall through. And this I can just compost. Here you can see a little better. The seeds are the light brown. This feels incredibly empowering to me for some reason. I don't know if it's the fact that I thought of this idea. I mean, it's pretty basic, but I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm just gonna fill this colander up again. I am no expert when it comes to seed saving. I have done it in the past, but I haven't always used the seed that I saved. And this year is the first year, except for the black beans, where I have been planting some of the seeds that I had saved from the previous years. And the fact that they're growing is just incredible to me. I don't have to rely on my seed companies. Now, I will always buy seed probably every single year I have a garden because there'll be new varieties and different things I want to grow. But if I can start seed saving some things, I think that that is a super amazing skill to have, and it's a lot of fun. It's amazing how when you save seed and you get it to grow after you plant it and it grows, the sense of accomplishment that comes with that is huge. So if you have been considering seed saving, have this be an encouragement to you that you can do it and it doesn't have to be this crazy complicated thing. I do have a book that I have read that helps with seed saving, and so I can link that down below. You don't have to clean the seeds if you don't want to. You could just put this in a seed packet and plant this little bit with it. But I have really small seed packets, so I'm gonna do it just so that it takes up less space. Look at all that seed we have in here. Saving seeds is crazy. It's exponential, the amount, because this was only from 2 or 3 radishes that went to seed. And look at all those seeds. That's enough radish seeds for Josh and I for 2 or 3 years because we don't eat a ton of radishes. So I may have just been able to figure out how to save enough seed for us for well, obviously planting next year, but I mean, I've learned this skill. If these germinate, I'm sure they will, because I've already had some that I had planted from these saved seeds in the green stalk that have already germinated. So that is awesome. Now I just need to find my envelope, get these seeds in there. The Cosmos, there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seeds I saved, and that was from 2 Cosmos plants. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, I'm gonna lick that, get that closed, and now we're gonna go harvest more seeds. I'm gonna bring these out because this is working really well for me. So the next thing we're gonna do is harvest the seed from these green stalks. They are looking a little bit sad out here because I've stopped watering them about 2 weeks ago. I've been collecting seed off these green stalks for a while now, but I knew that I was gonna come do a big harvest, so I just stopped watering them, and there's 4 different things we're gonna harvest from these green stalks. I've got a bunch of bean plants, and I wanna clean these up because they're looking a little bit sad, and they're on my porch, and I don't really wanna look at them anymore. So we're gonna harvest the seed. I've got a couple different kinds of seeds, bean seeds, and I don't really know what's what until I open them. When I open them, I can easily tell. So these are white. These are jade green beans. So I'm gonna open all of them. And then I also have, I think this is a different one. Yes, this is a pinto bean. So I'm going to put, when I open them, my pinto beans over here, my jade beans over here. I can try to guess what they are as I open them. Yeah, pinto bean, pinto bean. I'm gonna put some gloves on because the paper can be kind of rough on your skin a little bit. These are jade green beans, so I can plant these next year. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, now that I'm in the shade, I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna harvest all these off. And I'm gonna clean up these green stalks. Some of the pods are breaking open as I do that, so I think I'm gonna try to open or harvest them over something so that if they fall, now these plants do look very, very sad, and they look sad for a couple reasons. The main reason they look sad and dead is because these plants have done their job. There's 2 main types of plants. There's annuals, which beans are annuals, and also the flowers that we're going to harvest and the herb seeds we're going to harvest off these green stalks are annuals too. And they're perennials. Perennials come back year after year after year, and annuals don't. Annuals are a plant that you plant the seed grows into a plant, the plant produces a flower, the flower produces seed, and then the plant dies because it's done its job. It is pushing on its genetics unto the next year. The whole point of the plant is to produce seed, and then once it's done that, it tells the plant it can die, and it does. And so these plants have died because they have produced seed. Now, they wouldn't look this sad at this point if I kept watering them, but I knew I was going to come out here and harvest them, and I'm actually going to put these green stalks to bed for winter, and I didn't want them to be filled with water and be extra heavy when I did that. So they not only look super sad because the plants are done for the year, they've done their job, they've produced seed, but they also look sad because I stopped watering them because I want to put these green stalks to bed for the year, and I didn't want them filled with water. Now, we were able to harvest multiple dinners worth of green beans off these green stalks because on the top tier I planted jade green beans, and then the bottom tiers I planted cannellini beans and pinto beans. And the cannellini beans and pinto beans I grew just for dried beans, but the jade green beans, I harvested the green beans and then I finally stopped harvesting them and I let them go to seed. They look even sadder, but all good things must come to an end. I'm happy what they have given so far. So now that I have taken all the pods off, mostly. I probably missed a couple. We're gonna start collecting some other varieties of seeds. I have these little snapdragons are hanging on for dear life. I have got 2 colors of snapdragons that I want to save the seed from, and I wanted to get out here before they completely shriveled up so I could label which ones were which. These are my pink ones, obviously, or clearly. These ones here, even though they don't look like much, they were a very, very bright, vibrant maroon color. And these these are the seed pods here. We can go ahead and get the seed pods out of them. And then we have one more thing. We have 2 more things actually here. So this right here is a petunia. It doesn't look like much now, but it was really beautiful when it was blooming. And I don't know if you can see all those little brown seeds on there. I'm pretty sure those are the seeds coming out of the flower right here. So I want to go ahead and collect those as well. I also have over here some more snapdragons. So this is what that red color snapdragon looked like. And these ones are hanging on a little bit better because I've been watering these, but they have gone to seed and they've actually started growing. These little guys right here are all snapdragons. So I'm pretty sure that these seeds are ready to harvest. So let's snap one of these off. Well, that one doesn't look like it has any seeds in it. Snapdragon seeds are really small. That might be what's growing right now. There we go. Those little black dots, those are the snapdragon seeds right there. I think what I'm gonna do for these petunia seeds, because they're all stuck to the branch, I think I'm just gonna write, these were a yellow petunia with like a pink stripe. So I'm gonna write yellow with pink. And I'm going to write that they were on the green stalk so that I know where I collected them from, and that's going to jog my memory. The more information I put down, the better. And I'm going to put the year, of course, 2023. And I think I'm just going to pick the flower heads that have a ton of seeds, and I'm just going to stick them in here. I had the worst luck growing petunias last year, or this year, from seed. But these seeds don't really look like the same, so I don't know if my seed packet was bad or if these aren't petunia seeds. We will find out next year. So you can see I'm just pulling the whole flower head off because it's all completely dry. Stick it in my paper bag. And what I'll probably end up doing is just planting this whole flower head, and then I can separate the seed, like the plants out. Oh my goodness. Okay, interesting. You see all these little black right here? That's all seed. I have no idea what kind of seed. It's probably snapdragon seeds. So I've got my petunias here. I also have basil seed that I'm going to harvest in just a minute. So on the ground here, it could be basil. I'm not sure. But I'm going to get my pink snapdragons next. I wonder if I could just break. Oh, they're just, okay. Okay, that's working. Okay, I think. I'm now wondering if I have just created a huge problem and I'm gonna have snapdragons growing all over my lawn next year. Oh, because I can just feel the seeds coming off this. Just from shaking that plant, there are seeds all over my arm. Now these probably have cross-pollinated, so the snapdragons that I grow from these next year might not look exactly like this. But that's okay, because they will then become a new kind of hybrid. I think I have a lifetime supply now of these pink snapdragons. So now let's move on to, I'm just going to collect, I'm going to do the same thing with the maroon ones. The last but certainly not least seed we're going to collect from the green stalk is basil. So this is what basil looks like once it's flowered and dried. Let's see how I can do this. This is probably not ideal. Okay. My green stalk over there is the one that we planted out for fall crops, and it's doing really well. It's the one that I've been able to harvest a bunch of radishes from, and lettuce and cilantro. Okay, so here, let me show you. On the underside of what used to be the flower of the basil plant, there are these little black dots, and those are the seeds. So we're gonna put those in here. I know in the garden I have more basil seeds. Those green ones up there are not quite ready for harvest. No, the seeds are still yellow on the underside, so I'm gonna let those sit there for a little bit longer, I think. I can see that I've dropped a bunch of pinto beans on the ground, so I'm gonna go pick all those up. I'm also gonna clean these green stalks out because these two are gonna be done for the year. I could plant out these green stalks with more greens. That's probably greens and radishes is about the only things that I think I could probably get away with still planting for the year. But I already have a bunch of that out in the garden, and I also have that on the other green stalk, and to plant more would be just to plant more. And I know that we won't be able to go through it. And so I am going to put these green stalks to bed for the year, and we will just enjoy what, we're still harvesting. I have quite a few more food preservation projects ahead of me, and I'm okay with starting to have the slow down season of going from the craziness of harvest into the quieter of winter. And so I am not super sad to see these go. I so enjoyed them as they were lush and beautiful, but I can feel myself ready for a slower time. And so getting these put to bed for winter just feels like the right thing to do. I don't want to, plant more things just for the fact of planting. I'm going to have a dinner party next week, and I want to get this back porch kind of beautified, and I want to plant or decorate it for fall. I want to get some mums and things out, and so it is time to put these to bed. I can feel and see these snapdragon seeds fall all over me. So on the ground, I'm 99% sure those are all snapdragon seeds. So I just took this tray and I'm shaking the snapdragons over top the tray for all the extra seed. And then I'm going to write that this is going to be a mix, a snapdragon mix, because I don't know exactly what seed is what. I'm just mixing them all together. So I've got one more snapdragon plant down here, and they're seriously, the seeds are just falling on the ground. It's incredible the amount of seed these snapdragons produce. I'm thinking I may have just caused myself a headache when it comes to volunteer snapdragons all over my landscaping. Okay, I'm going to finish cleaning this up. I want to get these green stalks ready for winter, and I'm going to put them to bed. So I'm going to remove all the dead plants, and then I'm going to wheel these into the grow room, and I'm going to keep them in the grow room over the winter. I want to kind of revamp the back patio for my dinner party next week, and I want to look out at a fall themed patio. So one thing I love about this new homestead is my window in my kitchen, and I was so enjoying being able to look out at the green stalks when they were so full and lush and just full of life. And now that they are done, I'm going to wheel them into the grow room, and I'm going to run to my local nursery this week, and we are going to kind of revamp the patio for fall. I harvested all the pumpkins over this last week, and so I want to kind of decorate this area with pumpkins and mums and kind of give this area new life. Now, one thing I learned this year, which I didn't know, so the more you know, is bean leaves are super, super sticky. They stick to your clothes. You'll see them on me. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter if they were dry or fresh, but bean leaves are super sticky. And so I probably won't put bean plants next to an area where I'm walking past it all the time. So these plants were next to this walkway, and I loved the look of it. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, but it wasn't super practical because every time I walked by or anybody walked by, we were carrying in leaves from the green stalks into the house. When I went inside to grab the broom, I thought I felt something on my back, and I was like, no, it's just a leaf. Well, it's a little praying mantis, and praying mantises are good, so I'm gonna put you right in there. Okay, he's okay. I want to save every seed I can. There's another seed. It feels so good to have that project taken care of. It looks so different not having the green stalks there as I'm walking through to the garden, but it's just a sign that the time is changing, the seasons are changing, and I'm okay with that. I could plant those out with lettuce and some spinach and more radish, but I have one that's already planted out, and I know that we are good. We are going to be good. I've got a fall garden in the garden, and I'm just ready to start decorating this back porch for the fall. So I'm going to sit here for a minute. I've got all of the bean plants. I have gloves on because when I'm working with these ones that are really dried, they can kind of really break up your hands or kind of scratch up your hands quite a bit. So these are all the beans mixed together. I think I'm just going to start separating or getting them out of their shell. And then I'm going to separate them once I have them all out of their shell. So this is going to take me just a minute here to do this. My plan for the green stalks for next year, and this could change, but this is what I'm thinking right now, is 2 of them I want to plan out with strawberries. I want to take the strawberries from the previous owner's garden, and transplant them into the green stalks. The previous owner's garden is no longer in a deer fence, and the deer completely demolished the strawberries. I went out there and they were lush and beautiful and a ton of strawberries on them, all green of course. And then 2 days later I went out there and the deer had eaten the plants to the ground. So the plants are coming back, and so I think this spring I'm going to transplant the plants into 2 of the green stalks so that I can have them on the patio and I can keep them protected from deer. And then I think the other 2 green stalks I want to plant out and see if I can grow a year's worth of herbs. I really have enjoyed having the herbs on the patio because then they're right off the kitchen and I can just go and grab them and harvest them. I have found that the herbs that are in the garden, even though it's not that much farther away, just that little bit of distance, I'm less likely to go harvest them and use them. And so I would really like to have the fresh herbs up on the patio instead of in the main garden. I probably would put herbs still in the main garden for like the bulk of the herbs I'm going to preserve, but I want a lot more herbs and greens, probably lettuce too. Mostly all the lettuce I grow, I want to grow on the patio next year, just for ease of harvest and convenience. All right, let's see what we've got here. So far we have yellow with pink petunias, white dwarf cosmos, pink snapdragons, red round radishes, red snapdragons, and then in here, it doesn't look like much, mostly just looks like debris. This is where we have all of our mixed, I'm gonna put it in here. Oh yeah, there's a ton of seed in here. I'm gonna try to clean out this top part. This is our mixed snapdragons. There's a ton of soil that's dried in here. This probably wasn't the best idea, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this in a container. And when I do my snapdragons next year, I think what I'm gonna do, because the seeds are so small, is I'm going to just sprinkle them over a big thing of soil. So I'll just take the packet, open it up, sprinkle it over a tray of soil, just like, so if there's a little bit of dry soil in here, that's gonna be just fine because it'll mix in with it. And then when they sprout, I can kind of separate them a little bit. So let me write on here what this is. This is our mix. So it's gonna be red and pink. That marker is dead. Let's see here. This is my basil seed. Some of it's already dried and the seeds are, there's the seed right there, the little black dot. The seeds are dried. Some of them, they're not all the way dried yet. So I'm going to let these plants just dry out in here. I'm gonna make a little seed packet for it. And then once they all dry, I'll get them in this seed packet. I have some basil that is going to seed out in the garden. So this is basil from the Green Stalk 2023. The other basil I'll mark from the garden. So I'm just gonna set that and let that sit there. And now I'm gonna go through and separate these seeds. Next year, I'm gonna be a lot more intentional about not mixing my seed varieties up in something like a green stalk, or even just in the garden. When I harvest, or when I have something planted, I want it to be one variety in one section so that I'm not having to do this, because this is just an extra step that really is not necessary. But when I was planting, I just got excited and just started putting seeds everywhere. And so I wasn't sure exactly what was what, and I didn't label. So this is gonna take me a minute to go through and separate all this. It will be worth it in the end, but because I was so hasty at the beginning of the year, it's gonna take me longer at the end of the year. So that's okay. And now that I'm looking at these and thinking back, I think I have 3 varieties of white. I think I have a cannellini bean, which I can't tell when I look at these seeds what is what, and jade green beans. So that is kind of biting me in the foot a little bit, that I can't tell the white beans apart. I can tell the pinto beans apart, no problem, because they are brown and tan speckled, versus the white ones are just white. I think they're just different size, but I'm not exactly sure which is which. So that's definitely a little bit of a fail on my part and a learning moment. See, I think these larger white ones with a little bit of yellow are a white dried bean, like a cannellini bean. And these skinny ones that are white, but they actually have a little bit of a green tint to them. These ones, I think those are the jade green beans. I think that's how I'm gonna separate it. I'm gonna separate it into 3 different categories, and maybe I'll try cooking up these white ones and not save these ones to save to plant, because if I save them, I'm not gonna know what they are. So maybe I will cook them up and we will try them. So now I have 3 different varieties I'm going through and sorting through. I think I did it. After staring at all those beans for as long as I did, it probably took me about 15 minutes to get this separated. So not as long as I was thinking it was going to. I'm pretty sure I have them separated with like kind with like kind. Here we have the pinto beans. I have more pinto beans out in the garden, but they are not ready to be picked. We've got our cannellini beans and our jade green beans. This makes sense to me that there'd be so few jade green beans because I only planted these on the top row, and then I intermixed the pinto beans and the cannellini beans in the tiers below the top row, so it makes sense there would be less, plus we were eating a bunch of the jade green beans. So this is pretty cool. Well, it looks like there's one there. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these yet. I don't know if I'm going to save these and I'm going to plant them next year. I plan to grow a lot more beans. One way I want to maximize my growing space is I want to take a lot more advantage of vertical space, and I want to grow more pole dry beans on some vertical trellises next year. So that is going to be a big goal next year. Probably not grow as many tomatoes and maybe focus on some other crops because I think I know how many tomato plants I need to plant for a year's worth of tomatoes. And clearly this would not be a year's worth of pinto beans. I think I grew a year's worth of black beans. And so that'd be pretty cool if I could grow a year's worth of pinto beans, black beans. And I know I can grow a year's worth of tomatoes now at this point. I planted 59 tomato plants, I think. And I probably, as long as I do high yielding plants like my Roma plants that I really, really like, I probably only need about 25. And so that would, if I reduce the amount of tomatoes I plant, I could increase the amount of other plants I plant. But it has been cool being able to donate a lot of my tomatoes. It's been an awesome year being able to enjoy our harvest plus being able to kind of share in the abundance. Okay, so now what I think I want to do, I was going to tackle all the black beans that are downstairs. That's going to be a massive project. I think what I want to do now is go out into the garden and see if there's any seeds out in the garden that I want to grab. I'm going to let these continue to dry. The green ones the jades are not completely dry yet. My pinto beans are completely dry. My cannellini beans are completely dry, but I just don't know yet what I want to do with them. If I'm going to take them inside, wash them, can them when I can the black beans, or if I'm going to save them and plant next year. You and I will find that out as time goes on. One of the best things that grows in my garden are coffee cups. That's an iced coffee from I don't know when. Well, doesn't that look different? Wow. So tomorrow I'll probably come out and harvest the cilantro. I'm going to leave the sunflowers. I wanted to show you this one sunflower though. I thought this was pretty cool. This is a sunflower Steve sunflower, and it's a double-headed sunflower. Some of these are ready. That one's not ready, but some are ready. I can collect the heads for the seeds, but I think I'm just gonna wait and I'm gonna collect a bunch of them at the same time. It's not supposed to rain for a week, but I want to get out here and collect it before it rains. And if the birds enjoy some of them, that'll be fine too. It is time to say goodbye to the zucchini plants. So these are the melons that are diseased that I pulled up the other day, and I never brought them to the compost. So I need to get these into the compost. I'm just actually going to give these to the chickens because there are some things attached to it they could enjoy eating. There's some melons and stuff. So I'm just going to pull this all. They won't actually eat the melon plants, but they'll have fun digging through it. They will eat the melons that didn't get fully ripe. So while I'm at it, I'm just going to clean up the trellis here. Now I'm going to bring this to the chickens, and I'll be back for this big pile over here. This is the corn that needs to be taken care of. I'm going to give this to the chickens and let them pick through it and play with it as well. If you were with me when we harvested the corn and the pumpkins, I didn't have the energy on that day to take the corn stalks and all the pumpkin plants to the chickens. Part of it was because my pumpkins were in my wheelbarrow and I needed my wheelbarrow in order to do this. And by the time I brought all the pumpkins up into the house, I didn't have the energy to go back out in the garden and do this. Now, I didn't want these plants just to sit on the edge of my raised beds and compost and stain the edge of my raised bed or anything like that. So that's why I wanted to get out here on this day and go ahead and get all of this stuff picked up. The chickens have had so much fun digging through it. They're not really going to eat much of these plants at all. It's more of just like a fun activity for them to enjoy picking around. They did eat the melons. There were a couple squash in the squash vines that were sitting in there that weren't fully developed, or they had blossom end rot, or whatever it might be. They weren't fully pollinated, and so they were not going to produce an actual pumpkin or squash or melon, and so they did eat those, but the rest of it is more just kind of like a fun activity for them. And so I'm going to get this cleaned up. It feels good to get this taken off the to-do list because I did not want this to sit there for a long time. And so we're going to bring these to the girls and they are going to have fun playing in all this goodness. So here are the goodies we just got out of the garden. Oop, these teeny tiny sad little jalapenos. I don't know why they grow so small. Our squash, and earlier today I got all this corn shucked, and I want to show you something. Some of it is absolutely beautiful. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 beautiful ears of corn where the majority of it turned into corn. I've got some really funny, sad looking corn, and then I have a couple where they didn't get pollinated at all. And then some where it's very spotty, like this one. I'm gonna toss this to the chickens and they will have fun picking through this. When I gave them the corn stalks earlier, they just loved, they were fighting for it, so it's kind of cute. So I'll give them these and they'll probably enjoy it. For dinner tonight, I'm gonna blanch all this corn, wash it up really good, blanch it all. We're gonna have corn on the cob, and whatever we don't end up eating tonight, which obviously we can't eat all that, I'll cut off and I will preserve it just like I did before if you watched me preserve 150 ears of corn. I also have some cucumbers in the fridge that I harvested yesterday that are marinating in a vinegar salad dressing thing, and I have some chicken that I'm going to throw on the grill. So this is going to be a really easy dinner tonight. Corn on the cob, chicken on the grill, marinated cucumbers. So friend, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. If you want to see how I preserved 150 ears of corn, I can pop that video right here, and I can pop another video down here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.